See Udine live on CTV. CTV is also on the Go TV channel. So those of you who have their Go TV decoder, kindly log on and then watch CTV live also as well. We are streaming live on Facebook, my CTVGH. Today, in the studios here is a very honorable gentleman. He's a PRO, Public Relations Officer for the Rent Control, and is also the spokesperson for the National Rental Assistance Scheme. National Rental Assistance Scheme. Mr. Emmanuel Kwasu is in the studio with us for the discussion today on tenancy agreement in Ghana. If you want to go and rent an apartment, a single room, or whichever, house, or whichever may be a place to lay your head on, what kind of agreement do you have to go into? Do you understand the agreement itself or not? So that is what we are speaking about in the studio today. Once again, my name is Odilia, and you are watching Siwudine on live Facebook as well. We are streaming live on Facebook. Now, let's go to what happened over the weekend. Yesterday, Dawn, we heard the bad news of a building that collapsed somewhere in the capital. Somewhere in, is it Achimota thereabout? Yes, if I'm not too sure. Ofanko, yes, production team, thank you so much for that. There was a 3-story building that collapsed all of a sudden, like that. And there's one thing we always say right on this very show, that don't give contracts or don't award projects to people by hearsay, by word of mouth. Always give your projects to professionals, because the end results of an unprofessional dealing with land issue, building issues, the end results is killing people or killing your whole self or your family. And it's something that I know that you wouldn't want to put yourself into. You wouldn't want to be a victim, right? So do well, please. If you don't have the money, a single room with a porch, a bathhouse and a toilet is okay for you if you don't have the money. If you have the money, fine. Give it to a good contractor who put up that building for you, so you don't make a mistake of killing people, including killing your own family. Because at the end of the day, if you end up being a victim, the blood is in your hands. You stain your hands with blood. You cause your own death. You cause your own family's death. Whoever died out of the process, you are the cause of it. So please, don't look at the money. Don't look at cutting corners. Don't look at cheaper. It's good when you are giving contract to somebody, you look at the one that is cost effective. But at the end of the day, have you thought about the implications that will come on you later on if you are dealing with unprofessionals? If you are dealing with cutting corners to cut costs down? Let's go for a commercial break and let's watch the video that I'm talking about. Most of you have not heard about it. Most of you have not seen. But let's go for a quick commercial break. Let's watch the video of the building that collapsed at Ofanko, so that we can use that to guide our path and learn something from it. So sorry today we can't bring you words of exhortation because of the technical challenges we have. So let's go for a quick commercial break. My name is Odansini Odilia, and you're watching Siwudine on CTV. We are streaming live on Facebook, and we are going to play the video again. So those of you whose friends, families didn't watch this very video that we just played, along the show, we are going to play the video again for you to have an understanding of what we are always preaching live on this very show. Mr. Emmanuel, welcome.
Thank you very much.
A brief about what we just...
It's terrible. I am short of words. That's serious. Very serious.
And this is human life.
Yes, yes, yes. Not only human life, but that's the supreme. But the amount of money you've invested
in the project.
Wow.
I think rent control, you have a lot of work to do. You have a lot of work to do because these collapsed buildings are becoming unbecoming. I know together with the permit units, let's say the assemblies, there should be a wake-up call, there should be a campaign towards some of these activities that is going on. It's becoming unbecoming. Every month, if we don't hear any news of a storey building that is collapsed, we hear of something happening at the construction site, materials on people and stuff like that. I think let's launch a campaign. I'm in all support. I'm in all support. The airtime is here. We have to be able to, help people, right?
No, but this stops at the doorsteps of the assemblies. Okay. And sometimes we also try to dodge the few money we'll pay for
the permit.
The permit, and for the proper work to be done. See, considering the amount you're involved in this, and consider the amount that you will pay to the assembly so that they will supervise the step-by-step construction of this project, it's terrible.
Very terrible.
Yes.
Let's go straight to our discussion for this evening. Tenancy agreements in Ghana.
Okay.
When we talk about tenancy agreements, I know we have spoken about this issue on this show. That was in 2020, 2021. Exactly. And I know for some of you watching today, it's something that is new to you. We started this show way back in 2020. Rent control was on this show for over 6 months continuously. And it was rent issues back to back. Before we gave the opportunity for other radio or TV stations who took the mantle and then used it for their morning shows, their drive time. I was, at that time I was very surprised that our morning shows and our drive times were there. We had airtime and we couldn't preach all these things. They have to look at CU9 before they do that. I'm very proud. I'm a very proud, TV host for, bringing these issues on limelight. Once again, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Now, today we speak about tenancy agreement. What is tenancy agreement?
Okay. So you could see there are two words that has been joined together. Tenancy and agreement. Okay. So the first word is tenancy. Tenancy simply means holding possession of a land or a property.
Okay.
So tenancy is holding possession. And then the agreement is a contract. So when you combine the two, is the contract between somebody who is going to hold or who is holding a lease or a land or a property for a period of time. So it's a contract. And in the nutshell, it's a contract between a landlord and a tenant.
A contract between a landlord
and a tenant. Because at the end of the day, the landlord has a land or a property that somebody is coming to hold that property for a period of time. So in holding that property, what agreement or what contract are we signing that during the period of you holding my property, what are your responsibilities and what are mine? So that at the end of the contract, you hand over my property to me. So in a nutshell, tenancy agreement is the contract between the landlord and then a tenant.
So if you rent a space, you rent an apartment, a single room or whatever, and the landlord does not hand over a document to you, does it mean that you don't have an agreement, though you have paid for the services?
Yes. So the law requires that tenancy agreement must always be written. We'll go into details, but it should be that the landlord should hand over that documents to you for you to read and know your responsibilities, know that of the landlord before you sign and give money to the landlord that, no, yes, you've given me the paper, the document I've read through, I can abide by the rules or the contract that the two of us are going to sign before I pay you money. So without the tenancy agreement, no tenant is required to pay money to any landlord. That's what the law says.
So the landlord has to, first of all, give the tenant a document, a contract.
Exactly.
Before the tenant comes to, pay.
Must pay. Yes.
Okay.
So if you come back a little bit, you know, you can build your property. You can decide to dwell in personally or give it to your family member. You don't have any contract with anybody.
Okay.
But when it comes that I want to get money out of this property or out of this land, then you need to do an advert. You can contract an agent or a broker to advertise, to give it to rent or to advertise to get somebody to come and dwell in that property. If the person comes and the person is comfortable with the structure, the sizes and everything, then you hand over that tenancy agreement to the person, because the person has just seen the structure. But the details of how you are going to work within the period that the person is coming to hold trust of that property, you need to spell it out. That you need to do this, I am to do this. Then the person will read and sign. If the person signs and you also sign, you need some witnesses. These are the details, but we'll go into it. After all those things, then the person will be authorized to pay money to you.
Okay.
And that money cannot be kind. It cannot be anything of kind. In kind, you understand?
So, if you are saying kind, what are we trying to refer to? The law
requires, I have to be clear, that you give me your daughter, then I give you my property. It cannot be kind. Or the other way around. I don't want to go there.
If there's exchange of goods and services, it's still a contract.
But at the end of the day, the law requires that you have to pay tax on the rent advance that has been paid to you. Okay. You cannot quantify the kindness.
The kindness, okay, I get
so
you there.
Then you'll be dodging the rent tax that you have to pay. So the law is strict that the amount that is paid to you should not be in kind. It has to be physical cash.
Okay.
Whether check, it has to be physical cash.
Okay.
Yes.
We now understand the whole thing, not kindness.
Exactly.
Because you don't pay taxes on kindness. You can't value.
Yes.
But at least you can value something. I mean, that is not what we are talking about anyway. Now, how do I write tenancy agreement?
Okay.
In Ghana, how is tenancy agreement written?
Okay. So it's the responsibility of the landlord who has to provide this tenancy agreement. Of course, we have samples in our offices, or you can contract any lawyer, since that is their field, to help you draft that tenancy agreement.
But the lawyers, they charge plenty.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. If you are ignorant in some aspect of, you need to contract somebody.
Okay.
Of course. Just as I said, if you cannot afford the services of the lawyer, you can approach the rent control department. We have samples or formats that we can give you for you to go and fill that will suit your premises. Because tenancy agreement varies. We cannot have one standard tenancy agreement. We can only have sample or format which can aid you. So it's your responsibility, as I said, the landlord is not responsible of the tenant. Because that's your property. You know what
is in there, what went into,
you know what the tenancy is required to do. You know your responsibility. So you have to draft this and then hand over to the tenant. But what goes into the tenancy agreement? The first that has to be there is the date that you are signing the tenancy agreement.
Not the date of payment.
Not the date of payment.
Okay.
The date that you are handing over that document.
Okay.
The date can be there. You can state in the tenancy agreement when the person is supposed to pay. And when the person is supposed to come and dwell in the property. Those things can be there. But the date on which you are signing the agreement must be there.
Must be there.
And because it's a contract, it has to be between two persons.
The landlord and the tenant.
Landlord and the tenant, which can be two persons, or a person and a group or a company. Or a company and a group, or a company and a company.
Wow.
Okay, there must be two people, or two institutions, or two parties.
Okay.
And that parties can be individuals, can be companies, or can be individual or company or individual.
Okay.
So your details must come. The parties' details must be there. After the details, the duration of the contract must be there. Okay, so if I'm coming to draw your premises for 2 years, for 10 years, it must be stated.
It must be stated.
You need to have that. And the date of commencement, just as I mentioned, when you are supposed to start your tenancy must be there, and when you are supposed to end your tenancy must be there. If you feel that after the end of the tenancy, you give that person another period to vacate, all must be there. But under our rules, when you start, the end and the beginning must be strictly adhered to. So that at the end of your tenancy, you should not come back to the landlord that, no, my tenancy has ended, so you should give me extra period to vacate the premises. If you have those intentions, let the landlord know, then you put it as a clause in the tenancy agreement. Okay, if there's nothing of that sort, then at the end of your tenancy, which has been stated in your document, you must vacate.
Okay.
Okay. When all those things has been spelled out, you need the rights and responsibilities of the tenant. It must be there. The rights and responsibility of the landlord must also be there. But in drafting this, you must look at our constitution. You must look at our rent laws. You must look at what we call Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Okay.
So that the clauses you put in there should not infringe on somebody's human rights, should not contravene our laws, being the rent laws or the constitution. An example is, you cannot rent a place to less than 18 years old person. The person is considered a minor.
A minor.
So you cannot rent a premises to a minor. Okay? So all these things must be there. Okay? So after all this, after spelling out the right and responsibility of both the landlords and the tenants, you need witnesses. Because at the end of the day, it's the two of you are signing. But somebody must witness
who was there to
that
know.
this is what all of us agreed to.
Okay.
So you, the landlord, must provide a witness. The tenant must also provide a witness. So these are basic, what I call basic tenancy agreement. Some can be elaborated. Okay? We can put a lot of things inside, just like cooking. Okay? You can put a lot of fish inside. You can put a lot of spices
at the end of the day, it goes into the mouth.
Exactly. That will suit the two of you. But basically, these are some of the clauses that must be. They are standard. They must be there. But if you want to add more that the two of you have agreed on, just as I mentioned, at the end of your tenancy, you can put in some there that, no, the tenant will be given a month to vacate. This is an agreement the two of you have come to. So in a nutshell, this is a basic tenancy agreement, or the ingredients that must be in a tenancy agreement.
But Mr. Emmanuel, we speak about these things a lot, and then there are rules, and that is the constitution that guides tenants and then landlords. But we see a lot of landlords asking the tenant to bring agreement.
No, that is totally wrong. It's your responsibility as the landlord to provide this tenancy agreement for the tenant or the what we call prospective tenant. Now roaming, at that point, it's not your tenant yet. It's just roaming to look for accommodation. After you sign the agreement, then it becomes, and it pays you, then that's when it becomes your tenant. In any case, our law defines a landlord as somebody who has collected money from somebody in exchange of occupying the premises. And then likewise, the tenant is somebody who has paid money to a landlord in exchange of occupying the premises. So until the tenant pays you money or you collect money from that tenant, you are not a landlord. And he is not a tenant. We can call him a prospective tenant because he's still holding, he's still looking for an accommodation. But Odilia, let me mention that we are digitalizing our offices.
Okay.
And very soon, if you are a tenant and a landlord has not registered that tenancy agreement in our offices, you will not have right to file any case in our office. Okay,
so you are digitizing. Please hold on, let me not cut you so short. As you can see on the screens, we have an upcoming event, Siudai, in partnership with Forever Construction and Consultancy. We have an upcoming event on the Odansini dialogue theme, understanding the land system in Ghana. Most of you don't understand the land system in Ghana. You just buy land and then you don't understand what goes into land purchase, what you need to do, what you need to look out for, the leases that are left, you understand. So because of this, we are extending our community engagement from the studios here to an event grounds that is at the Christ the King Parish Hall. Is going to be a one-day event on the 9th of December 2023. And of course, powered by Forever Construction and Consultancy. So we want to let you know that please send this information to everybody. If you have any issue with land, if you have any indenture that you see that it's not rightly done, please bring it to us. We are going to have representatives from the Land Commission of Ghana. We're going to have representatives from the Surveying Department of Ghana, the surveyors unit. We're going to have a lot of real estate experts, land experts, to help you with presentation on everything that has to do with the land system in Ghana. We want you to understand the land you're going to purchase before you build that your house or your home for your business or for your family. We want you to understand the lease that is left so that you don't buy a land for 5 years and then when the lease is 50 years, 50 years minus 5 years is how much? 45. Then later on you end up fighting the chief or the real estate institution that they didn't do well because the law says that 99 years, the lease is supposed to be 99 years. No, the lease is 99 years, yes. But it might be that the person you are buying from has bought it from, let's say, the chief or anybody. So minus the years that he bought, that he's now reselling to you. So it's like shifting cultivation. When you come to agric in essence, shifting cultivation, you shift from one place to the other.
Exactly.
After farming at an area, and then the soil is what is not good for farming, you shift to another area. We want you to understand the land system in Ghana. So please peg the numbers below the screens and call. The main event is free. The main event is free. Those of you who want to buy land, use the opportunity and come and buy. There's going to be genuine real estate companies like Forever Construction, yes, who are going to give you where their plot and their lands are so that you can pay. Installment payment is also available. Thank you so much. And along the show, we are going to call Ebenezer, who is the Vice President of GAREP, who will talk a bit about the show. So in the next 20 minutes after the phone-in of our discussion in the studio is over, we're going to call Ebenezer so that he gets to brief everybody about what the event is all about. Thank you so much for watching. We are streaming live on Facebook. Kindly go there, hashtag and share Odansini Odilia CTV-GH. Mr. Mano, let's continue.
Yes. So, Odilia, what is critical is that there are 4 mandatory requirements that every landlord must abide to. I'm saying mandatory. There are a lot of obligations that landlords must adhere to, but there are 4 basic ones, which we call the rent cut.
Okay.
C-A-R-T. That's the rent cut. The C is what we call the rent card. And the law requires that after you've signed a tenancy agreement, within 14 days, you, the landlord, must purchase this rent card and issue to the tenant. No matter how the number of tenants you have, each tenant must have one rent card, uniquely numbered rent card. You cannot buy one rent card and make photocopies and share it. Every rent card it comes in duplets, that's in 2s.
Okay.
So if you have 10 tenants, then you have to buy 10 pairs of rent card. The next acronym is the A, which we've just discussed, is the agreement, which is the tenancy agreement.
Okay.
And you are mandatory to make sure you issue this tenancy agreement to the tenant before you collect money. And after you've signed, you are required, mandatory or obligatory, to register this tenancy agreement with the Rent Control Department. We'll go into details. The other issue is R, which is the receipt. Any payment that is made towards the rent, whether it's 1 cedi, you need to issue receipt to the tenant or the person who has made payments to you. And the last acronym, which is T, is the rent tax, which we've discussed, that any rent advance that you receive,
you have to pay
rent tax on it. And that has to go through the Ghana Revenue Authority. There are 2 categories. We have residential and non-residential. Non-residential are commercial ventures. For the residential, you pay 8%. For the commercial, you pay 15%. And this is in our Income Tax Act. Section 115, if you read, you see the distribution of how much tax you have to pay on rent advance that you've collected.
Okay.
So it's done on any landlord. And I mentioned that it's obligatory. That if you don't issue tenancy agreement and you've not registered this tenancy agreement with the rent control department, and again, the department is required to register vacant premises. So it's your requirement or your responsibility as a landlord to register your vacant premises with the rent control department.
That's if it's vacant.
If it's
so that
vacant,
you don't pay tax at that particular point in time.
At that point, you don't pay tax. Until somebody comes and pay the rent advance, you don't pay tax.
Oh, I see.
If it's your own dwelling place that you've not rented it out, you are not required to pay any tax.
Okay.
Rent tax. But when you rent it out and a rent advance is paid to you, then you have to match Nicodemously to the Ghana Revenue Authority and declare your asset. It's a declaration of asset.
Much Nicodemously.
Okay. Yeah, exactly, because it's the tax that has been used to develop our country. So if you are doing a business by renting places out and you don't want to pay tax, how can we develop our country?
So on this case, I think the landlords should rather be taxed even more than we, the presenters. Because now they say that we presenters, we are going to MC a show, you have to pay tax.
No, so
bloggers have to pay tax. I mean, how? We who are helping the economy, we are helping shaping the economy. So if you're asking us to pay tax, so who is going to tax the taxpayer? The tax collector, sorry.
No, see that.
So you rent control, are you going to pay tax?
No, the tax collectors are government workers where taxes are being deducted from our salary. Okay? But as a property owner, you've rented a place out, you've gotten an income. So it's more like an income tax which you have to pay. And just as I mentioned, because commercial is a place where people generate money, the fee there or the tax there is higher than where somebody is just dwelling or just a residential premises. Just as I mentioned, 8% for residential, 15% for non-residential or for commercial. So I mentioned the digitization of the rent control department. That when it comes into full effect, you, the tenant, has no excuse. You have to demand that the landlord issue you with the tenancy agreement before you pay money. Because at the end of the day, if your tenancy has not been registered with the rent control department, you'll be denied reporting any issue with the rent control department. Likewise, you, the landlord, you also be denied or you pay a penalty for not registering your tenancy agreement before the issue comes out. So this is going to cushion tenants to make sure that their tenancy are registered with the rent control department.
Yeah.
And then they will force landlords to oblige to all their obligations that they are supposed to.
That one there, we will support it well because the landlords are not paying taxes. They are receiving free money.
Exactly.
And they are increasing the rentals anyhow.
Which is also wrong.
Very wrong.
And all these things will come into effect. Of course, you, the tenant, also have right. If you are being asked of more rent that you can imagine, you have right to match to the rent control department and apply for what we call an assessment. After the assessment, the landlord will be involved. So when the assessment certificate is issued to both of you, the landlord cannot say that, no, the fee is too much or the fee is too low. It's your right as a tenant to apply for this tenancy this assessment, as we mentioned it.
All right, thank you so much. On this note, we're going to open the phone lines, the messages too as well on the screen. The WhatsApp messages is on the screen. Kindly forward any message that has to do with any tenancy issues that you are facing in your neighborhood or any part of the capital or the country that you are in. Kindly, production team, kindly help us with the phone lines so that we can be able to reach out to people with issues. My name is Bless. Why will the man say that about please tell him to apologize. Why would the man say that about landlords? And the money we have invested in the building, please tell the man to apologize. Okay, on this note, I give that question to you, Mr. Emmanuel.
I don't understand the apology.
Why are you talking about they have invested money in their building, and then you are saying they should come and pay tax? So you should apologize to them.
Yeah, it's just like going outside to import something into the country. Okay, you pay import tax. It's a business you are doing. The road that you pass on to go and develop or to go and build your premises is the taxpayers' money that has been used to develop the place. The water you use, the electricity you are using, have been subsidized for us to make sure we all enjoy. So if you pay your tax, the fact is that you have bought your iron rods and everything. But at the end of the day, if you want to dwell in personally, that's fine. No tax is infringed on you. But you are renting it out to get money out of it.
So you have to pay tax. So landlord.
So I don't need to apologize to somebody for telling
unapologetically.
I'm standing on my feet.
Thank you so much.
All of us have to pay tax.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Unapologetically, I am also standing on my feet. He is not going to apologize, and I am not going to apologize, because the landlords, it's time the landlords to pay their taxes. Because if the landlords don't pay their taxes, there's going to be more taxes on us. Now they are making money. They are building more houses. One person builds one, gets more, and then he's not paying taxes. He's just going. No. It shouldn't happen. One question from WhatsApp. Hi, I am Nana from Tema. Please, I want to know if there is any percentage for which rent can be increased. My landlord has increased my rent by 70%. Is it lawful?
No, it's unlawful. We don't have any percentage increment of rent in Ghana. Okay. What we do is, after the assessment, looking at the economic situation, looking at the materials you use, looking at even the value of the land on which you've built your premises, those are the factors that will aid us to come out with a realistic rent. So there's no figure, there's no percentage that every 6 months, every year, we have to increase by 50%, in this instant, 70%.
It's unlawful.
This is where the tenant has right to visit the rent control department with the assessment request, so that we'll come and look at the factors or the things that has been used in building the premises, or where it has reached, so that we can determine the realistic rent that the tenant has to pay.
I believe I have a first caller on the line. Hello, good evening. Please, how are you doing?
Fine.
Please, your name and where you are calling from.
Yeah, my name is Kathy. I was calling from Sherman Estate.
You are calling from Ashoman Estate.
Okay.
Let's hear you.
Yeah, I'm a landlord for 20 years.
You're a landlord for 20 years?
Yes, and I'm based in Middle. I started paying a taxes on the rent I collected from my tenant. As what do you call it? What the man was saying that they use that taxes to support the area. It's a totally lie. In my area, for over 20 years, there's no water. The roads, they are not good. But me, I'm paying the taxes. So they should be very careful to mix everybody in the same soup. Some people are paying. I'm a landlord to police officers. So automatically, before they give my money to me, they deduct the taxes from it. So me, I'm paying. But we are not enjoying the taxes too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that call. You do us a big favor, right? All right. So if you are watching me from wherever, please, if you have any challenge, kindly, that is why our WhatsApp number is below the screen. Kindly send the challenges to us before the day Sunday, so that we can get to put it live on TV. Because if you are not having water flowing for 20 years, and you are sitting there, you are not doing anything, you are watching Siu dying, this is a means of announcement for you, for us to be able to pass on the information to the government to help you. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Please, how are you doing?
Please, I'm fine.
Your name and where you are calling us from?
Oh, Mami say I'm calling from Lomnava.
Let's hear you. Hello.
Hello, madam.
Let's hear you.
My mom is a landlord and she's a landlady, and I want to verify about the about the tax that we have been paying.
Okay.
We have been paying, what do we call it? I forgot. Is it rent control? Or I've been paying a tax every year. They have been collecting. This year I paid 200 Ghana.
This year you pay 200 Ghana?
Yes.
Okay, so
I
that's the property rate.
Yeah, the property rate. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to know the difference between the tax that my elder is saying that we need to pay. I want to know the difference between.
Okay, so the difference between what you are paying and then the taxes. All right,
taxes,
we'll answer
yes,
that
please.
question for you. Thank you so much.
Madam.
Thank you so much. Mr. Emmanuel has already noticed that down, and then he's going to help you with the answer. Thank you so much. Please keep calling us because we have a few minutes to wrap up the calls. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Please, your name and where you are calling us from.
I'm calling from Kumasi.
Let's hear you.
Oh, okay. What they are saying is a very good thing. But, saying that there's a development goes to every area, water and others. Some of us, we have even put in our own borehole in the house. How do you get that? How do you spend money? And why do you pay taxes when we are not getting what we're supposed to get? But we are using our own thing to get that. And then you need us to pay tax. Secondly, when we pay tax, definitely the economy is going up and down. And so at least we have to increase our a little bit so that we can also do something more. Because at the end of the day, tenant will go and break toilet seat, do this, do that. You have to replace it. How do you replace it?
Thank you so much for calling us.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much for calling us.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We pick few calls and then we wrap up the call segment. Then we go to WhatsApp messages and go to Facebook as well and read your questions that has come. Hello. Okay, I think I don't have any caller yet. The last caller should do me a favor and then call me quickly so that I can be able to be within time.
Okay. Odila, let me make this clarification.
I can a call just set in. Let's pick that call. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Please, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. You?
Good by grace. You happen to be my last caller.
Yo, me a landlady.
You're a landlady?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, property rent from 2004 up to 2013.
Okay.
Na me kwani nye me wala shibi.
Lashibi? Which part of Lashibi?
Me wo opposite Bowers.
Okay.
Vivian Farm.
Okay.
Na nsuo na ipo abonte ni esa ba me fie ni so na first and sister. It's the last year no omu di rate buy. 6,500.
Okay.
And I'm saying here.
Okay.
Because the side no me bushia na te na other side no me dia ma tennis about 4.
Okay.
Into no one to more say na like my dino separate. Into no fear near 4 houses. I'm say one plot, then 4 houses. In fact, me get to home so man fear deal. If you want to buy kwan na betia.
Mommy, mpacha obetimi atwa kwan no video ne pictures any.
Yo, me ni WhatsApp phone, but
obetimi atwa your number no.
Nah.
So we TV ni sesi a.
Me
pacha fa number no na nya obi phone. Na twa picture any video e fa send my yen. As part of our community engagement and our community watch no, ye pese mo a mo hwe yen ba bia mo biara no. Se mohu edan bia last year announcement mohu dan bia enye ekwan bia enye nsuato nsuayiri efie bia na se mohu se obi sini dan ewo water log area ba bia ni se obi sini dan na se obi si structure ho a me pa macho muntwa video muntwa pictures na mo fan send yen
WhatsApp line
me pa cho ai muntwa video na muntwa pictures obi si fie na mu fi se efie ne nya me pa cho mu mfra yen ya be buy the camera be baba na ya betwa na dia to TV so mo bi ehu say ni say na e course so na be a niam a e course wo Ghana ha no ebetwa me da se be brace or friend me ma be me da se
okay just as I said, let me make this clarification and make this point clear. The taxes we pay go into what we call a consolidated fund, and it's that fund that is used to develop the entire country. You cannot say that the small tax you pay should be used to construct your environment. It's the government that will decide that, no, today we are going to construct this road, tomorrow we are going to provide water to this place. If you have challenges, just as you said, you make complaints to your assemblyman, your MPs, or your district assembly commissioner. Okay? So they will champion your grievances. But we should not put in our mind that the small taxes we pay should be used to develop your undeveloped place. I've not mentioned that the tax I pay at Teshinungwa, the rent tax I pay, should be used to construct the Teshinungwa road. You ask yourself, how much is it? So that monies or all the taxes we pay go into the consolidated fund where the government will decide now, today we are going here, we are coming here, or we are going here. So that's the clarification I want to make. And the second caller talks about the two taxes. We have property rate and then the rent tax. The property rate goes to the assembly. The fact is that the fact that you've built a premises in that assembly, you are obliged to pay that rent tax. That property rate. Okay. Whether you've rented it out or you are dwelling in personally, you are mandated to pay that property rate. But when you rent it out and you receive rent advance, then you pay an additional tax, which is the rent tax. So I mentioned again, if you've not rented the place out, you are not obliged to pay that rent tax. But when you rent it out and the rent advance is paid to you, you are mandated to pay the rent tax. So that is the difference. The property rate is universal. So far as the structure is in the assembly, you pay that property rate to the assembly. But when you rent it out and the rent advance is paid to you, you walk Nicodemously, as I mentioned, to the Ghana Revenue Authority and go and pay the rent tax. Somebody mentioned about maintenance. When it comes to maintenance, you, the landlord, has responsibility, the tenant has responsibility. Interior maintenance is done on the tenant, and the external one is done on the landlord. That is the general term. But the landlord can offload this responsibility to the tenant by reducing some of the rent, okay? So that at the end of the day, the tenant will take responsibility of the property if it's a self-contained or a self-compound.
Mr. Emmanuel, let me not cut you, but production team, let's get the Vice President of Garib on the line soon so that we get to talk about the upcoming event. If the tenant does this and the rate is not massaged, like reduced, what should the tenant do?
No, it's the responsibility of the landlord. So if I'm paying my rent and you want me to take responsibility of the entire maintenance, then in effect, you have to reduce my rent. If you don't reduce it, then I'll hold on to my responsibility, then you hold on to your responsibility.
And when the person is about to use the structure, is it the responsibility of the person who is about to... okay, so I've gotten the Vice President of Garib on the line. So sorry, I will continue with that question after. Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening, Odansini Odilia.
No longer Dasimia. Mr. Boji, how are you doing?
I'm very fine, yourself?
I'm good. How is Garib doing?
Oh, by God's grace, we're still pressing on and ensuring high professional standard.
Okay, on the upcoming event, any update? The Ghana immigration, before we go to the understanding the land system in Ghana. Any updates on the Ghana immigration?
Oh, with the Ghana immigration, I think a new date would have to be set.
Okay.
Due to some few circumstances beyond control.
Okay.
A new date would have to be set.
Okay.
Yeah, so our members are in the know that there will be a new date that will be communicated to them.
Okay. Thank you so much. Still dying to be on standby for any updates so that we can also publicly announce to everybody, right?
That's awesome.
So let's go straight up to Christ the King on the 9th of December, God willing, coming this year.
Yes. So, when it comes to land, it is very limited in supply, and God is no longer creating land any longer.
Yeah.
And so what is happening is anytime you want to own a piece of the earth, at least for some time, you need to understand what actually goes into it and what it actually entails. So I will encourage your cherished viewers that before they commit their hard-earned resources, due to the scarcity of land, it demands a lot of money for you to own a piece of it. So your savings, I think it would take a number of years for people to raise 10,000, 20,000, the 50,000 cities.
Yeah.
So before you know where to put this money in, to be called a landlord over a land for a period of time, you need to understand. I'm deliberately using the period of time because most lands in Ghana now are, all lands are in Ghana now are leasehold.
Yeah.
Leasehold. Yeah, so you need to understand what actually it entails. If you are buying from the government or a state land, what it entails. If you are buying from a school land, what it entails. What did it happen after my lease? So some of these things are things that you need to know. When I buy a land, what are the right documents to prove my ownership? So the nitty-gritties, you can learn it yourself, and you will know the benefits of it.
Yeah.
So I will encourage everyone to actually join, especially if it is free. It is actually, I'm sure you should have even placed some money on it, because what people are going to get, it's very heavy, and having it free on a silver platter is something that you need not to joke about it. I'm sure some vendors will come to present some plots of land or houses that they are selling at a very cool prices, and with no litigation, or lands or properties that are free from all encumbrances.
Yeah.
So you need to come, you need to study, and master it to avoid litigations in buying land. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Ebenezer is going to be one of the speakers on the event day. He is going to be one of the speakers. He is the vice president of Garib. We're going to have the president of Garib himself also there live on the 9th of December. Let's wrap up and then let people understand what the whole event is all about, so that we can get to the studio and continue our discussion here.
Yeah. So the whole event is about understanding the land system in Ghana. So, as I rightly said, if you lack understanding, you may get your fingers bent. So spend some time, quality time, to sit under or listen to professionals. There'll be lawyers around, there'll be real estate agents around, industry practitioners around. So I'm hoping to see all of you who are listening to see what the show has been very educative. So there was one of the live edition where in person you find the opportunity to meet all the amazing lineup guests to talk on these delicate issues. So it's something that I wouldn't encourage you to miss at all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ebenezer, Vice President.
So this is 9th December, right?
9th December.
Yes.
9th December.
From 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Christ the King.
A whole day land affair.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for...
Let's get land clinic.
Land clinic, let's put it, land clinic. And Rent Control are promising me they are going to set up their stand there. Rent Control is also going to. Though it's not about rent issues. You have to buy the land. You have to build before you can become a landlord and rent. But Rent Control says that as part of the community engagement, they want to partner us so that they can, open their doors for people who want to ask rent issues and then get understance. Thank you so much.
Those are your words or proposal.
That would be awesome. People who want to invest into real estate and revenue through rental.
Yes.
They should understand what is happening at the rent control department.
Yeah.
They should understand the laws governing rent.
Yeah.
And in order not to flout any of the laws, to enjoy clean money.
Yeah. 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 Eben, thank you so much. We'll call you again another time when we need your services.
All right.
And
thank you very much.
we're going to meet him in the studios one of these days so that we have an elaborated discussion on this very one. Mr. Emmanuel,
Yes.
you can say no. Let's continue our conversation.
Definitely.
Let's continue our conversation.
Yes. So, yeah.
where the tenant would have to prepare the place.
Yeah.
It's mostly done. It's something that is mostly done, Mr. Emmanuel. And the landlords don't want to give discount. They don't want to take it off. They are saying you are the one who needs a place to lay your head on. So you come and repair the place and sleep.
No, under normal circumstances, before you rent a place out, the place must be ready. Okay? If the place is not ready, and it's an agreement that I will continue so that the money that I will invest in your structure, you use this to extend my tenancy for me, or you pay me at a particular point. This is a contract on agreement between the two of you. But any prospective tenant who wants to rent a place out, before you rent the place out, make sure the place is tenantable. The place is ready as it suits you. Just as I mentioned, if it's not ready and you agree that, no, I have to put this here, all must come with a cost which you have to discuss with the landlord. The landlord has to give you approval. You cannot just wake up and say, no, the place you've given me, I'll use my power to do certain things. At the end of the day, when you are going, the law requires that you can remove your things, but when removing, make sure you don't damage anything. But at that point, the landlord should give you that power to do those things, so that when you are going, you leave those things. Of course, the money will be paid to you or to be extended to you. So that's the issue. The place must be tenantable before you rent the place out.
Let's go to the rest of the questions that came in so that we can...
Yes, so those three questions are what you've mentioned. The maintenance issue, which is key, and the law also requires that the way you go to meet the place, when you are moving out, should make sure that the place is as you go to meet the place. So you cannot go to a place where it has been painted nicely. When you are moving, you just leave it like that. No. That's why we are introducing what we call the security deposit, which will be legal. It's going to be legal now.
Okay.
People are applying it, but this is a foreign thing that we've employed into our system. But the bill that we've presented to Parliament, which very soon will be passed, we have introduced what we call the security deposit. So that tenant will be conscious of the property. Now, investment in the real estate is not a joke.
It's not a joke.
So that you come and rent my place out, within 2 years, you've caused so much damage. Then I have to go to the bank and go and get some loan to go and repair it and then rent it to another person. No, you have to put some money down, which will be in your mind that, no, if I don't take care of this property, I'll forfeit my money. So all those things are coming on board.
You're watching Still Dine. My name is Odansini Odilia. We're discussing tenancy agreement with rent control, PRO, and also one of the positions, yes, big man there, about let me not mention. It's like I'm advertising for them. Let me advertise for rent control.
Yes.
Thank you so much for passing through the studio. Okay. I have another question for you. Landlords are killing us. He has not stated his name, but he says, landlords are killing us. Let me go to the next question. I have not been given any tenancy agreement. Please, those calling us should send us a WhatsApp messages. I paid my rent since last year, June, and my landlord only gave me a receipt for my payment. So what next?
Okay. So, you see, I mentioned 4 key mandatory obligations that the landlord should do. You, the tenants, has right to demand those things. The rent card, you must demand for it. Receipt, fortunately, you've been given. But a lot of people, they've not even received receipt as to how much they've paid for their rent. So you've paid money. You should demand that, that receipt. You should demand the tenancy agreement even before you pay the money, because that's what the law requires. That before you pay money as a rent advance, you have to demand that tenancy agreement. But at the end of the day, if you pay money and the landlord comes with a lot of clauses, of course, the famous that we hear is you don't pump for full year, you don't park your car here. All these things must be in the tenancy agreement, so that if you cannot abide by them, you move somewhere else. We know the housing deficit is huge.
It's huge, yeah.
But you cannot just give money out and then go through some inconvenience. Hold your money, still looking for a place that will suit you. By demanding the tenancy agreement, read through, if you can, you sign before you pay money to the landlord. And this will also check those fraudsters who are posting as landlords and landladies collecting people's money.
It's a big
Of
issue.
course, if you sign the tenancy agreement and the person's run away, you know the details of the premises. You know the details of the person who is claiming the ownership of the property. So at the end of the day, it can be traced. But if you give the money out, you go to the property and someone else comes and no, the property does not belong to that person. It belongs to me. Why are you going to get that person? So make sure you demand the tenancy agreement before you pay money to anybody.
Wrapping up, any advice for those watching us?
Yes, so in continuation of what we said, you need to do your due diligence. Okay, if you see a property that you are interested in, make sure you ask around the rightful owner of the property. And if you get the person to, make sure you demand the tenancy agreement. It's a contract. And the period that you are going to stay there, you make sure you sign those things. You know your rights and responsibilities. You know the responsibilities of the landlord. Make sure you get witnesses so that in future when there is a dispute, you can call somebody to come and witness that, no, at that point, this is what we agreed on. So that the landlord will not cheat you in court, or you also not cheat the landlord in court. So this is advice I'm giving to both landlords and tenants.
Thank you so much. That's Mr. Emmanuel from the Rent Control Department. Yes, advising us on that. On this note, we are dropping our curtains for this evening's discussion on tenancy agreement. God willing, next week we'll continue another conversation on rent issues. Please don't forget that we have an upcoming event on the 9th of December at the Christ the King Parish Hall, and entry is free for all. Entry is free for all. And I want you to come with any land issues that you have, with any understanding that you want to get before you purchase a land, or if you want to also, if you have a land already and then you want us to explain things that you didn't understand in the indenture or site plan, you can bring it to us so that we can be able to help you. This show was proudly supported by Forever Construction and Consultancy Limited. God willing, next week, same time, we'll continue our discussion. Please pick our numbers below the screens. 0246-187-825. That is our official WhatsApp number. Kindly send us a hi. Let's add you to the page, because every week before Sunday, we normally post a flyer for what we are discussing. On our social media handles, Odansini Odilia, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on TikTok, we normally post the artwork for the topic for the week. So kindly follow our social media handles or send us a hi on WhatsApp so that we can add you to the group and you get updates. Or if you have any question that we have not been able to answer for you, you can put it there and then we'll answer for you, because all the guests that come to the studio are on the platform to answer all your questions beyond the studio discussion. God willing, next week we'll be here right same time, same day. The repeat of this very program is on Saturday, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. God willing, we'll meet again. Bye.
CTV, Ghana's #1